Okay, so you can go ahead and proceed in now. So you start working your way around the stairs. And you notice that there is a large iron door that is locked. Well, actually, you notice that there's just a large door in front of you. And we'll say you even go up and you check it, and the door is locked. So basically, there are several things that you can do. Usually, the group, usually you'd have like a group with like a rogue or something that could actually check the door for traps, possibly pick the lock. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not successful, and sometimes the door will have a trap. Or that goes for chest as well. And also a rogue will notice things like traps. So in this case, you notice that the door is locked, but you do see a keyhole. So you're thinking this door is probably going to be able to be opened with a key. Or sometimes you can actually just physically bash a door down too. So if you want to give that a try with a strength check, that would be fine. That would usually fall under a strength check. Or you could sometimes just beat the door down too. So, but this door appears to be a pretty solid iron door. So, but yeah, go ahead and give me a strength check.
And what would that be?
1d20 plus your strength modifier. So your strength modifier is on your when you open up your character sheet, it's like right under the dwarf picture there, and your ability modifier is a 3.
Oh, okay. My bad.
That's all right. Don't worry. That would be a hell of a strength roll right there. So it had to be a 1d20 plus 3. Just don't roll a 20. Close. So you get a nice, good running start into this door, and you just bounce right off this door, and you actually you knock yourself about 5 feet back, and you actually hit the end of the staircase that you just came down. So you got a really nice roll, but you just weren't able to bust through that door. However, like I said, you did notice that there is a keyhole. So obviously there's a key around here somewhere.
Can I look around the door frame to see if there's any spots like missing stones I can move?
Sure, you can give me now for something like that you would roll a perception check. And different games call it different things, but in Pathfinder you can just go ahead and give me a perception check. And what you would do is those are actually under your skills. Now, whenever you scroll down where there's the skills from A to Z, basically, it's right under all of the black lettered knowledge ones. So your perception is a 2. So you would do a 1d20 plus 2. Yeah, that's a pretty bad roll. So you don't find a key, but you do remember that there was another passageway that did go west when you first entered the catacomb. So maybe there might be something that way. I actually like that staircase. I don't use that staircase enough, which I probably should. Sanders, I was the same way with 4th edition.
Notice anything like what's that?
Sure. You can do a knowledge check, which is I would say knowledge, probably history. I would say knowledge history would probably be the best. So you would just do a 1d20 because you don't have a knowledge history bonus. So. Alright, so you have an 8. You do notice this from the teachings that you've had, and plus your father had taught you a lot about fighting as well, because, you do have his longsword as well, so you do notice this creature is what's called a Balor. And a Balor is a demon from, the underworld. And you know that they can fly. You know that they usually have multiple weapons, flaming swords, whips, and you know that it takes many people to kill one of those. And you notice that these were actually made by dwarves. And you can tell that the actual architecture that was used to make these were made by dwarves. And you find another pile of gold and you pick that up as well. And then there's lots of rubble and dust on the floor. It doesn't look like there's been too many people in this area. Lots of little spiders though, and no big spiders. No big spiders that stab you in the stomach like Frodo or anything.
Are these cobwebs still considered burned from the torch earlier, or can I be...
Yeah, you can burn them if you want to. Sure.
Yeah, can I burn them to see if there's anything behind?
Sure. There's nothing. You burn all the way around the entire wall, and it's just wall. And it stinks like hell. Just smells really bad. And thanks for watching tonight, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying it. This is just like a little simple one-shot for somebody that's never played a tabletop game before. So I thought it would be nice to break them in with something like this. Those little legs are starting to move pretty good now. So there you go. You're back to where you were in the room where you found the trash and the corpse of the goblin. And now you can see several rats starting to gnaw on the carcass of the actual goblin itself. And there's the corridor that is starting to lead in a westerly direction.
Can I see anything about that little, discoloration?
Yeah. As you start to work your way down the tunnel, it smells like mold, actually. And you notice that the smell of mold grows a little bit stronger with each step that you take down this western corridor. Then you notice at about the 50-foot point, this corridor ends, and there is an opening. And you notice that towards the opening, you can see that there's an ajar door. And then you can hear some sounds like a child saying, "Hello, is there anyone there?" So yeah, you're actually able to avoid all of the mold and everything, and it's got this real strong pungent smell. So as you work your way inside the room, you notice that there's a large cage made up of iron bars with a layer of moldy hay at the bottom. Lying in the hay is a local farm boy that you noticed from Falcons, and it's one of the children who went missing in a recent goblin attack. The child looks hungry and is covered with bruises. Then you also notice on the northern wall there is a key ring up there with an iron key on it, and the key is dangling from a hook several feet off of the floor, which is just low enough for a goblin to reach. And the boy looks at you and says, "Help, help, help, mister." So what are you going to do? Are you going to take the key from the hook? Would you like to wake up? Well, actually, would you like to just speak to the boy? Or do you want to ignore the boy and leave the room and just take the key and haul ass?
Can I ask the boy if he's seen any goblins?
Sure. 1 second. So, as you call out to the boy, and his eyes get really large, he says, "Thank the gods." He croaks through cracked and bloodied lips. He says, I was working out in the fields when that goblin ambushed me. I think he was going to eat me." He says, "Please let me out of here, mister. I just want to go home and see Ma and Pa." Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to let him out of the cage, or do you want to ignore him and let the goblins eat him? I hope D&D Next is good,
Seen a patrol of
Sanders.
goblins, like they come visit every once in a while, or if they've just left him here?
He tells you that he had only seen one goblin, but he said there could be more because he heard others talking at one point, but he doesn't know if it was a goblin or anything else. He just doesn't know. But all he had seen was the one goblin that actually put him into the cage, and was the goblin that actually kidnapped him from the fields. I hope D&D Next is going to be good,
Right,
but
I want to take the keys and let the kid out of the cage.
I don't see how they're going to be 4th edition, man. 4th edition's beautiful. All right, so he as you unlock the door, he says, "Oh, thank you, mister." And then the farm boy starts to sob as you open the door of the cage. He goes, "I've been trapped in here for days, and I just want to get out of here. But if you're going to keep going, you should be careful." And he says, "There's something far more terrible than a goblin deeper in the dungeon." He goes, "Because I did hear other things, but it just didn't sound like goblins. So now that you actually let him out of the cage, he kind of tells you a little bit more than what he led you to believe at first." And he heard the goblin actually call it the Skeleton King. And then he says, "Here, mister, take my mace with you." And then he brushes away some of the straw on the floor, and he pulls out a weapon that looks like a club with a large metal head. And he tells you that he managed to hide it down the back of his shirt when the goblin captured him. And then when he got to the cell, he hid it under the hay, and the goblin never noticed to look under the hay. Then he tells you, "I think you're going to need it, mister, against whatever's hiding down there. So good luck." And then with that, the boy races out of the dungeon, heading home to his family. So you have a mace. So now that mace is that's a magical mace, and I'm just going to tell you that usually when you get an item or something like that from a reward, usually it'll be unidentified, and unless it's actually you purchase it from like maybe a shopkeep or general goods store, then you'll pretty much know the stats. But in this case, it's a one shot. You can go ahead and add another +1 to your hit, and another +1 to your damage. So we'll just keep mental note of that, and you'll be +5 to hit and +4 to damage now, instead of 4 and 3. So now you have a pretty nice magical mace. It's basically called a Mastercraft mace. And what Mastercraft weapons do in Pathfinder is it basically just adds +1 to hit and +1 to damage. No other magical properties or anything like that. So, but the boy thanks you again, and then he basically just hauls ass out of the room and says, "Gee, thanks, mister. You're swell." So he heads out. He heads back to Falcon's Hollow. But now you have a key, so that's a good thing. So you could probably go back to that door now and maybe try it out.
Can I go through the trash to see if I can find anything else? Like maybe a ring or something?
Sure, you can go through the trash. Sure, you go through the trash, and you guess what? You find a ring. Yep, you find a ring, and we'll add another +1 armor class. So it's basically a +1 ring of protection. Man, you're making out like a bandit in here. So now we'll also change your armor class on your token from an 18 to a 19 now. So wow, that's pretty insane for a level 1 warrior. So there you go. You got a new ring, you got a new mace, you found a healing potion, found quite a bit of gold. Gee, mister, you're swell. So you get back to the large room with the 2 demon statues on it. Well, in it. Let's see if he goes down the middle again. Alright, so now you need to make another saving throw. Because you went down the middle of the room again. So the actual trap that you hit before actually reset itself. So go ahead and do another 1d20 plus reflex. And we'll see if the 2 fireballs that are launched at you, towards you, from the 2 statues of Balors, hit you. I just had to do that to have fun with them. So you failed that. So you're going to need to take 6 fire damage, and you weren't actually able to recover from that. That actually caught you off guard. And so you do tumble, but it's too late. So you take 6 fire damage. So now you may need to drink one of those healing potions.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and put your life back up to full. And as you quaff your potion, it's nice and refreshing. You notice that you've got some smoke coming off of your shield, your armor, your cloak. So it's got a little charred there. Yeah, it's a one-shot, guys. I mean, it's not a hardcore, campaign or anything. I'm just trying to introduce him into tabletop games. He's never played a tabletop game before, so I don't want to kill him and then drive him away and scare his ass away, and he'll never play another D&D game ever.
Alright, so can I open the door with the key?
Yeah, sure. You put the iron key in. You actually got to fiddle with it a couple times, and there's like 3 or 4 different rings on this key ring. Well, keys, I'm sorry, on the key ring. And after about 2 or 3 keys, you actually find the correct key, and the door opens up. So let me open up the door for you. That's what I love about dynamic lighting. Isn't that cool? A door is actually a door. Alright. Ooh. So there you go. As you open up the door, I need 1 second. Alright, so yeah, I should have wrote this a little bit better so I could find things a little bit easier. So sorry about the delay there. So as you go down the ancient stone stairs, you notice that they were slick with moisture. You get the door unlocked. You open the door. You notice that this is behind the door is an actual cavern. Looks to be a natural type of cavern with lots of stalactites and stalagmites. So you notice that there are lots of those hanging down. Droplets of moisture and water are also hitting puddles on the ground. And you notice that there's actually quite a few shallow pools on the ground. And then as you enter further in, I will tell you something else. And you can see all of the water puddles on the ground and whatnot. And it appears across the entire cavern on the western wall, it appears that there's a large crack in the far wall. And it looks like it may be a passageway. And as you start, as you cross the room, something just doesn't seem quite right. So you stop around to look around the room. So, I mean, you actually stop to look around the room. So now I want you to give me one of the perception checks.
And perception's under skill, you said, right?
Yep, it's on the skills. I think you might have a 1 or a 0 perception. Let me
I have
double
2.
check that. Okay, all right, there you go. So it'd be a 1d20 plus 2. Wow. Yeah, that couldn't have been any worse of a roll for you, man. Alright. So, though you can't shake that weird feeling from you when you notice something's wrong, you just kind of chalk it up to nerves and you continue onward. But as you resume walking, however, the boot comes down on a nondescript patch. Your boot comes down on a nondescript patch of yellow mold. So as you start walking across, you actually step into a patch of yellow mold. And then suddenly there's a giant whooshing sound, and the air around you explodes into a cloud of yellow spores that seem to be everywhere at once, filling your mouth, your nose, and everything else. You notice that the actual spores cause you to cough and choke, making your eyes water and your arms feel weak. You can continue, but you are now sickened by the spores. So now when you're sickened, you can look on your character sheet, and I have a handout called Conditions, and I believe it's on the bottom row there, right beside Attack of Opportunities. And whenever you click on Conditions, it pops up a chart of all the different types of conditions in Pathfinder. And then in the very far right column, you'll see Sickened. And when you're sickened, you take a -2 penalty on all attack rolls, weapon damage rolls, saving throws, skill checks, and ability checks. So basically, you're -2 to everything. Which kind of sucks, but I mean, sometimes you make checks, sometimes you lose checks. So, but now you're basically -2 to everything. So when the spores settle and you can see again through your yellow tinged tears, you can actually make your way to the crack in the back of the room. And as you get closer, you notice that this is indeed a passageway. And then as you kind of, you're a little cautious about it, and you're still wiping away all of the tears and everything from your eyes, and you notice that there is a sort of like a flickering of light.
Can I look through the passageway to see if I can see anything before proceeding through?
Yeah, you really can't see anything because it looks like the passageway kind of winds back and forth several times, but you do notice that there is light because you can see rays of light eventually as you kind of work your way through the paths a little bit. So I guess you want to enter the passageway. Alright, so we'll put you in. So when you work your way all the way to the inside, the passageway ends in a large chamber, well, in a huge chamber, with an arched ceiling. There are stairs on the far right side of the room that lead up to a small platform. Atop the platform looms a large throne decorated with glittering diamonds and rubies. Sitting in this throne is a skeleton, dressed in the ancient and rusted armor of a king, a weirdly glowing longsword clasped in his bony hands. Suddenly the skeleton's head turns towards you, and its empty eye sockets are now filled with red flames. Its jaw opens in a horrible smile as it raises a longsword and points at you. "So," it rasps in a voice like two stones scraping together, "your pitiful town has sent a champion. How kind of them. Since you've clearly slain my goblin servant, it's only fair that you can take his place and join me in death." So with a granting, and then he laughs, he cackles like a crypt keeper laugh. With a granting laugh, the skeleton stands and moves towards you, readying its longsword to attack. So do you want to attack the skeleton, or do you want to put your legs between your legs and tuck your tail and haul ass back through the crack in the wall?
I'm gonna charge at him.
Alright. Alright, so the skeleton gets up, and now we're going to do some combat. So he gets up, he stands to the top of the ledge, he jumps down, and let's get. And you actually notice that he's much larger than you as well. He stands. I think you're about 4 feet 8, or close to 5 feet. But you notice that this skeleton is about 6.5 to 7 feet tall. He's got almost 2 feet on you. So let's go ahead and roll initiative.
User left your channel.
Alright, so it looks like you got the initiative again with a 9. The Skeletal King rolled a 6. So you can go ahead and move up 1 square and get your attack off.
Alright, so I'm rolling 1d20 plus 3, right?
Actually, you're going to do a 1d20 plus 5, because you were plus 4 to hit, but now that you have your masterwork mace that you got from the kid,
right,
you get
so
a plus 1.
6, right?
Oh, yeah, so you're 6 minus 2, which is 4. So there you go. I totally forgot about that. And that's why I usually like to put marks on the tokens. So I'm going to give you a little heart icon that reminds me that you're minus 2. So you rolled a 22. That's a darn good roll, and that is a hit. So as you remember the farm boy's warning, you grab your mace, prayer to the gods, and you swing and you hit. And you think it's time.